What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Saturday show. Today is the day of the week I like to go back through, take a look at the past week in Newswave and kind of see what you guys had to say about all the different topics that we talked about. Also, is a good way to kind of get caught up if you missed out on anything throughout the week. We'll kind of go over some of the bigger things that took place. And I'm first going to start with a little bit of news. And this is very interesting because it's kind of a continuation of Nintendo's file sizes being small when it comes to first-party games for the most part. There are some bigger ones, like Breath of the Wild is kind of a larger game, but if you take a look at something like Mario Odyssey, that's like 5 gigabytes. That's tiny in comparison to some of the PS4 and Xbox One games that we're so used to. And it looks like something like Mario Tennis will be continuing the trend of smaller file sizes. It is almost exactly 2 gigabytes. We found this out on Nintendo UK. They had the listing there and it said 2,000, just over 2 gigabytes, like 2,000 something megabytes. But this is pretty cool. I like the idea of these games being much smaller. It's much more manageable to have on your system storage or to just download. It doesn't take forever to download, right? Because, I mean, the eShop servers are a little slower anyway when it comes to delivering stuff to you. I've noticed that the PS4 and the Switch shops are slower. The Microsoft Store is very fast. It pushes data to you super quick, whereas the other ones take longer to download, and it's good to see Nintendo keeping that trend alive of small file sizes. It really is. It's awesome. So I'm glad to see this. And of course, we can get ready for that demo coming up this week. It's going to be an exciting time. I'm a big fan of Mario Tennis. I wish the Wii U one was better, but I guess they'll get a mulligan here, and I'll give them another chance here with the Switch version. So far, at least, it's looking pretty good. With that out of the way, guys, let's get started. On Monday, went over the trend of Pokemon rumors kind of bearing the internet. It seems a lot of speculation is going on leading up to the big Pokemon reveal, as you would expect, since this is the first mainline console version. And then, of course, as we're talking about later on, there was a big leak that everyone seems to be attaching to now because it seems more and more to be a legit leak. We also took a look at an interesting Destiny 2 Easter egg that made its way into the real world. Jay says, these rumors could end up disappointing a lot of people. Way to go, guys. So here's the thing about rumors. It can do a couple things. It can either get you ready for disappointment, which is sometimes, I guess, a good thing because then you get excited when it's not what you thought it was going to be and it shows up and it's something much better, or it can get your hopes up way too high and then it shows up and it's not what you were expecting. That's kind of the issue a lot of people have with rumors. They can build your expectations, they can drop them down. The biggest problem is they seem to be building people's expectations heavily around this Pokemon game. Of course, you should anyway because it's jumping to the Switch, where the Switch is much more capable than the 3DS, right? Way more capable. So we're all already expecting a beast of a game in terms of visually speaking compared to the older ones with the 3DS. But we're also probably expecting things like a big open world, stuff like that we're probably not going to get on a shorter turnaround time with this one. But with what we're hearing now, which we're going to go over in a little bit as well, because that was one of the topics, it's at least turning out to be something interesting for the nostalgic folks, I guess. Not so much for some of the more current Pokemon players who might be a little more annoyed about going back to Kanto. Tuesday, a ton of Nintendo trademarks were filed that included some popular franchises, something like F-Zero and even Sin and Punishment. And Boss Key finally closed their doors after an announcement from Cliff Bleszinski said they would be shutting down. Cringelord says, I had a dream last night where Spawnwave did Newswave in my driveway. A driveway, huh? Yeah, we could do that. See? It's raining out. This is why I never film outside, because it always seems to be raining when I want to film outside. So, yeah, let's go back inside. Drew says, Boss Key should come back after some time and make some indie games. If they make a lower budget but quality game, it will sell really well. We see it all the time. The best indie games are often made by a small team of one or two people, such as Undertale and Cuphead. So what's interesting about what you're saying here, that's actually exactly what Cliff wanted to do. He was looking for this kind of the step below AAA. You might be saying go even lower than that and kind of just work on something that he can kind of manage by himself and maybe with a few friends. But he wanted to do AA. That was something that he was really interested in, creating a AA game, something that would come out, it would sell for $30 or $40, and it wouldn't quite be the budget that a big AAA Call of Duty or I mean, think of anything, Battlefield, any of the bigger games that we call AAA games that have these massive budgets and marketing deals are huge. He wanted to do something smaller than that, not quite indie, but not quite AAA. That's why he was talking about AA games. That's actually, I remember him talking about it at one point. I was like, it actually makes a lot of sense for these intermediate studios to show up and do that. And that's what he tried to do. It's just, he showed up with too much of an old school mentality, I think, and it did not work out. Not in the universe or the world we're in now, where it's all about free-to-play monetization strategies being baked in. He really tried hard to push a game that probably would have sold back in the early 2000s. It's just, it wasn't the place for it now, and he's going to take some time away. And like I said, I hope he comes back. But I do like the idea of him coming back with maybe a couple people, and they try to build a very budget-oriented game, something that doesn't cost a lot of money, so there's minimal risk, and they can kind of do whatever they want. You know, they don't have to follow trends that are going on in the gaming world, whether it's a hero shooter or a battle royale game. They can just do whatever they want, because some of the stuff he was showing on Twitter, where his original ideas were, those sounded really cool. I just don't know if they would work with a 2 or 3 man skeleton team or something. They would probably need a lot more people to pull off some of the stuff where he's showing ninjas mixed with dragons and stuff. It was like, wow, that's okay. That would be kind of cool to play, but I think that would take a while and a lot of manpower to pull off. Wednesday, we took a look at the big Pokemon rumor that swept across the internet, claiming that the games would be called Pokemon Let's Go and would have a Pikachu and Eevee edition. Later that day, domains with these names were registered by a company who has handled Nintendo's website registrations in the past, making these names seem very likely. Cybertronic Danny says, I do not want to see any Pokemon Go mechanics in my mainline Pokemon games. I will cry. This, above everything else, is the thing that people are not happy about, is Pokemon Go integration in some way, right? Whether it's the mechanic, I guess, of even throwing the ball, even though I think that's fine. I don't think that's a big deal at all. If you want to work that into where you throw a Pokeball and, you catch Pokemon that way, and if it's docked, you use the Joy-Cons to kind of throw. I'm fine with it. I mean, you might want to put a wrist strap, I guess, on that. Make sure you have that attached. As you see, you can throw it into the wall and lose it. I would like to see some stuff, but not everything, right? Like the battle system is not very good in Pokemon Go. That can stay there. The whole location thing where you're walking around to find stuff isn't possible on the Switch anyway. So unless you're transferring stuff back and forth, I just don't know what kind of integration you can have outside of the catching mechanic, and maybe they'll share some of their celebration events that they do that are throughout the year. Neshomancer says, not Kanto again. Kanto was in the first 4 generations, for crying out loud. It was the Gen 1 region. You visit in Gen 2, got a remake in Gen 3, and Johto got a remake in Gen 4. They released the Gen 1 games on Virtual Console for 20th anniversary, and Gold and Silver got the same not that long ago. I hate to say this, but if these Switch games are another visit to Kanto, I may not buy it, and I'm a huge Pokemon fan who is looking forward to the Switch games. So it's interesting, the thing about this whole situation about them possibly remaking like a Yellow, or even just revisiting Kanto, even if it's far in the future. The thing I think a lot of people are underselling is the possibility that the Switch could give a whole different perspective on something like a Pallet Town or all of Kanto. Considering the Switch is much more powerful, they could really detail a lot of stuff, and it could be from a different perspective. We saw that screenshot, but if the camera can actually float and you can move it around really well, that could have just been one camera angle we saw. I mean, think about it. They could bring all of Kanto completely to life like we've never seen before, and that would be really cool to see. That's something I hope they don't get lazy with, is the way the game actually looks and what kind of story or what kind of environment they could show people with something like what the Switch can do compared to what the 3DS can do. The 3DS had a hard time, just in general. I remember with the most recent ones, Sun, Moon, Ultra Moon, they had to turn the 3DS off at times. I think it was when you went to battle and stuff, they had to like play around with that because the 3DS was just had a hard time handling it. Whereas you put on the Switch, you use the Tegra and everything, you get really good visuals out of it, and it'd look better and probably run better. I would like to see that. I think people are underselling that. I mean, think about it. You go back to Kanto with a much more powerful system that can really bring the world to life. I think people are actually going to like it if that's the case. But if they get lazy with it, I can see some people getting annoyed. But let's all be realistic. You're probably going to buy it anyway if you're a Pokemon fan. Thursday, we talked about Nintendo setting up reservation times for playing Smash Bros. At E3. The plan here is to allow people to set up reserved time slots at E3 rather than wait in line for a crazy amount of time to play Smash. Scalebound also found its way into the news when the store page on Microsoft's website seemed to randomly reappear. Rob Morris says, really, you need a reservation for Smash, as if it wasn't a hassle enough getting to E3. So the thing about these reservations, I talked to some people who went last year, and some people said I would have preferred to reserve my time slot because it was a madhouse there. Just getting in and trying to play everything was impossible because you were waiting in line the whole time. Whereas if you're able to reserve different spots and you kind of knew when you needed to be there, like, all right, I reserved my spot for like 4 o'clock. All right, so I know I need to be there at 4 o'clock. I can do a bunch of other stuff and then just get there in time. If they had something like that going where there were specific time slots for groups of people at once, that would actually be better. So while it sounds crazy kind of on paper, the reservation time makes sense, and I think people who have been to E3 will actually appreciate the idea of being able to kind of essentially call ahead and set a time, right? It's like calling, ahead to a restaurant and setting a reservation on like the busiest night of the year or whatever. It makes a lot of sense, and I do hope they can do this with their bigger games. Maybe not every single game, but something like a Smash, maybe when Metroid shows up, probably next year at their, at their booth and everything where you're playing it. Stuff like that is what those reservation times should be meant for. And I think other companies should also look into do it, especially with the public now going to E3 and really filling out that hall just with a ton of people. Interloco says, what if Phil Spencer says at E3, here's Scalebound, and it's available right now? Well, if they do that, a lot of people are going to be caught off guard, definitely. I'm wondering... I feel like Scalebound should be something that Microsoft should build up to, because that would be a big deal in the Japanese market, even because it was a game done by Platinum Games that looked very much like it would actually appeal to the Japanese audience. And I think they would be better off, rather than stealth releasing it or just throwing it out there, actually build up to it with marketing, and they should really be celebrating that game if it comes back. Here's the thing though, we haven't heard anything about it, just the store page seems to be there since April for some reason. I think it's still up. And no one's really commented on it. So could it be coming back? Yeah, it could be. I don't think I'd say it's likely that it's coming back, and I also don't think they would just announce it and then put it out at E3. I think they would want to build to it. That would be probably a bigger holiday release. Honestly, if it's coming back, it's probably like a holiday 2019 release. I don't think it'd be coming out this year anyway. But hey, that's the excitement about E3. There's a lot of unknowns, a lot of surprises, and honestly, I hope Scalebound's one of them. Finally, Friday went over the big Call of Duty Black Ops 4 reveal. It looks like the rumors were true, as Call of Duty will be foregoing the traditional single-player campaign and instead adding a battle royale mode called Blackout. Mohammed says, not impressed by Call of Duty. Let's see what Battlefield has to offer. But I don't think I'm going to buy that either, since EA is the publisher and they recently stated they won't stop doing loot boxes. So let's just be realistic about Battlefield. It's going to have loot boxes. It's going to have microtransactions. It's going to have something that gets more money from you, right? We all know this. I think a lot of us understand this. It's just, at this point with these large shooters, it kind of comes down to the lesser of two evils, essentially, Activision and EA, when it comes to consumer practices with monetization after the fact. After you make your $6 purchase, yeah, there's going to be a lot of other ways to give them money beyond that. Let's just stop it right there. It's going to happen. But the concern about Call of Duty is it doesn't look different enough, and they pretty much pulled out single player because they couldn't monetize it, and they're putting in Battle Royale because it is the trending thing right now. Not enough information about it currently. I would like to see them actually push beyond the 100 players on the map at some time, because they're AAA developers, should be able to do more than what smaller companies are doing right now with it, right? I think that's fair. I think Battlefield actually has the best chance to pull off a Battle Royale, because they've had maps that have 60-something people in it, so more than likely they have at least the ability to figure it out, and I would actually like to see them push past the 100-person thing, so they probably will do Battle Royale. But it sounds like there will be a single player, so that's good, right? And that's why I think I'll be more interested in Battlefield. Also, I think it's going to look different than Battlefield 1, obviously, whereas Black Ops 4, honestly, looking at the multiplayer, didn't look that much different than Black Ops 3. That seems to be the meme online right now, so I am actually more excited for Battlefield, but it's EA, so they can always let me down. That's very possible, and honestly, it's probably likely. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for our Saturday show today. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button. Really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave a bunch of comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is the Black Ops 4 reveal, are you looking more forward to something like the Battlefield reveal, or are you still more in the Call of Duty camp because you want to see how they pull off the Battle Royale mode, or maybe you're annoyed because there is no single player, and it seems like Battlefield probably will have a narrative-driven single player for all the people who don't want to play online. Let me know about that. Also, let me know what you think about the Pokemon rumors. Are you more on the side of them going back to Kanto? Are you annoyed about that? And then if you want to talk about anything else throughout the week, drop it in the comments, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later on tonight for Spawncast, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a lot of stuff, as you guys have seen from the week, so there's going to be quite a bit of stuff to talk about on the podcast tonight, and I'll see you guys then.